In 1851, at a time when Greece was still rising from the ashes after 4 centuries of Turkish rule, Andreas, one of the 5 children of the Cambas family, was born. Infatuated with the earth and its treasures, he was resolved to study viticulture. In 1869, at just 25 years of age, he leased the pastures of Keseriani Monastery, an estate full of grapevines, planted in a monastic way, that is to say, in a random, disorderly manner. It appears he worked the vineyards well, and soon young Andreas bought 500 hectares in Kanza, an area with fertile soil and, most importantly, excellent water. Later, he added another 350 hectares of vineyards in Yalu, close to Sparta. Puzzled, the farmers in the area watched him grow his vines on a trellis system and harvesting excellent grapes. Envious, some tried to copy him, but this catapulted production and plummeted prices. Andreas Cambas wrote in his diary at the time,
"Production was so abundant in 1879 that grape must sold at 24 lepta per oka. I was forced to store my entire production and search for ideas to use this wine. All my relatives and friends criticized me for this decision and thought I was mentally unstable."
However, it was a wise decision. He distilled the wine reserve into brandy, which at the time was still allowed to be called cognac. As it turned out, it was an excellent decision, and thus the charismatic winemaker decided to make it known throughout the planet. He started from our neighborhood, Egypt, where it was met with such success that sales surpassed those of the respective French brandies. Exports skyrocketed, and when they reached America, Andreas Cambas decided to build a second factory in Piraeus for access to the port. Unfortunately, however, in 1941, during the Great Bombardment of Piraeus, a British ship carrying ammunition was blown up close to the building. The damage was irreparable. The factory closed, and the staff were moved to the other factory in Kanza. Nevertheless, Cambas was enjoying great success already. In 1910, in his 60s, he had managed to make the family name synonymous with good quality bottled wine. A triumph! He died 14 years later, always triumphant, indisputable master of the Kanza and Attica viticulture. In 1929, the Wall Street crash strangled profits. Debt accumulated. His sons did not make the correct business choices. One died very young. Many setbacks. So many that in the end the dynasty was led in 1935 to the impersonal hands of the National Bank, where it remained until 1991, when finally the Boutari Group acquired the majority of the Cambas company shares. Nevertheless, the DNA of the great winemaker survived and made an unexpected appearance in 1952 with the birth of Roxani Matsa, great-grandchild of Alexandros, brother of Andreas. A young, rebellious blonde girl, daughter of the prominent diplomat and poet Nikos Matsas and Elina Argyropoulou, who was born in Switzerland and through childhood lived in the great capital cities where her father served.
Being in the diplomatic corps, we lived abroad, but he always painted Kanza, this view or the other. He painted even in the hospital before he died. He painted Kanza. I have these paintings.
Εκεί στην Κάντζα το κρασί είναι αφθονό κι άμα σε λένε μάτσα δεν έχεις παράπονο. Εκεί στην Κάντζα τα πουλάκια κελαηδούν, εκεί και τα μπελάκια κάθε βράδυ τραγουδούν.
Among those that Roxani inherited from Malagouzia Matsas, whom the legendary Dean Rusk, US Secretary of State, addressed as the ambassador, was a significant treasure of poems. His collection of poems, titled Le Vieux Jardin, The Old Garden, which he wrote at the age of 13, was prefaced by the great Kostis Palamas. In the meanwhile, young Roxani was growing more or less in the manner of daughters of her class. Only somewhat, though, since the fire of a rebellious nature that does not accept formalities or a yoke runs in her veins. But she had a talent for painting and drawing, which led her to the graphic design department of the then illustrious Doxiadis School.
After my father died, the inheritance taxes were exorbitant. Exorbitant! Naturally, there were many interested parties for the property, and my mother asked me if I wanted to sell. I did not want to sell. I was sure about that. It was in my roots because due to the diplomatic corps, I changed schools, changed languages, made friends and then lost them. And Kanza was something special that rooted me. I belonged somewhere. Later, I came upon great difficulties, but I dug my heels in and overcame them.
Great difficulties. There was a lot of work, and heavy work. She did not have any money to maintain the estate, and therefore she had to learn to work it. With the help of Uncle Kostakis, her father's brother, and Spiros, the experienced and resourceful caretaker, she took the first big steps and has never stopped since then. In 1976, at the age of 24, despite the protests of her mother, who could not accept the idea of the farmer debutante, Roxani moved to Kanza and dedicated herself to the estate with the fervor of a neophyte nun.
And in 1982, I had my first grape harvests by myself.
But before that, in 1980, there was a stroke of luck for the future of the Kanza estate that came out of the blue, in the form of a chance meeting with Konstantinos Poutaris, which changed the circumstances. 2 years later, the famous Chateau Matsa was launched, a great commercial success. Today, Roxani Matsa's abundant vineyard, with the centenarian olive trees and the citrus garden, seem like a gate leading to another time. Behind the main gate is her precious winery. That is where Roxani is, day and night, looking after the quality of her production. Together with the agronomist, the enologist, the dedicated estate secretary, the workers, always following the teachings of the old caretaker.
The boss's eye is manure in the field.
2010, Roxani Matsa said,
The estate is 10 hectares of vineyard, planted with Savatiano, Roditis, Assyrtiko, Sauvignon Blanc, Malagouzia. The greater part is Malagouzia and Syrah. Usually we have 80 to 95 tons of grapes. We always hope for more to better cover expenses, and that translates into approximately 50 to 60 tons of wine.
Since 2020, however, the climate crisis has intensified, decimating production, which has been shrinking dramatically. The estate is struggling to survive. A deus ex machina came from the very same lineage, Stelios Boutaris, nephew of Konstantinos and son of Yiannis Boutaris. His estate, Kyriani, lends its support, and life at Roxani's estate goes on. Roxani experiments with biologically cultivated varieties, sulfite-free, and produces award-winning, internationally recognized wines. Her favorite, of course, is Malagouzia, which she has shared with every viticulture who has requested, always free of charge.
Malagouzia, Malagouzia, Malagouzia.
A variety of the rootstock is named after her.
When they bury me, this is what I will have done.
She says in exaggeration.